All right, so we're going to be looking at mid segments, but mid segments, what they are is basically the segments made by the midpoints. So you see my question number one, I have in each triangle, M, N, and P are the midpoints of the sides. So I see my point M, I see my point N, I see my point P. Those are the midpoints of the sides. When I connect the midpoints, we're going to call it the mid segments. Now, the interesting part of the mid segments is if I look at one segment, one of my mid segments, in this case MN, that segment is parallel to one of the sides of the triangle. In this case, this side. If I look at another mid segment, let's take a look at this one. This mid segment, it's parallel to this side. And if I look at my third mid segment, let's say this one, NP, that is parallel to the segment IJ. So each mid segment, it's parallel to one side. So in instructions number one, I even finished with name a segment parallel to the one given. I'm asking at the bottom MP. So you guys see the segment MP? I want to know which side or what segment is parallel to MP. In this case, the segment IH. And that's all I do. Just IH or HI. Remember, one mid segment is parallel to one side. In this case, MP is parallel to HI. Let me erase all this recording from here. If you see, here's MP, here's the segment IH. Right? Those two are parallel. Now, on my instructions, notice how I have this little symbol that looks like two parallel segments? That's the symbol for parallel. So I'm saying that IH, it's parallel to MP. That's all I do for question number one. That's one of the interesting part of mid segments. The other interesting part is the measurements. I can tell that the two sides that are parallel are definitely not the same side. MP is smaller than IH. Like we can tell it's smaller. The cool thing is it is half the side of the side. So for example, MP, just to give a number, let's say MP was 4, IH would be twice as big. So 8. So if I give you the small side, you can multiply it by 2 and equals the big side. But if I give you the big side, 8, then you can divide it by half. So looking at question number 2, I'm telling you BD is 12. But my instructions are find LM. How big is LM? 6. Thank you. Right? Because it's half the side. Easy?
Easy.
We'll see. Now let's pick up the notch a little. Taking a look at question number 3, I'm going to pick it up a little. So remember that KL, it's half of VX, right? Because the mid segment's half of the other side. Now, I cannot divide x plus 20, I cannot divide it by 2. The 20, we can divide it by 2. But the x, we cannot divide it by 2. So what I'm going to do, in order for me to solve for x, I'm going to go x plus 15, which is the little side. I'm going to multiply it by 2. So multiply the mid segment by 2. And in this case, is equal to x plus 20. Mid segment times 2 equals the side. So I have that 2x plus 30, it's equal to x plus 20. Notice how the x plus 50 in the beginning, I put it in parentheses so I don't forget that I had to double everything. Now the rest is just algebra. I'm going to subtract an x from each side. I'm going to subtract 30 from each side. So I get that 1x is equal to negative 10. And that question was, what's the value of x? Looking at question number 4, I see a mid segment and I see the side that is parallel to it. So I'm going to say 2x plus 25, all of it multiplied by 2, and equals x plus 23. The mid segment times 2 equals the side. So I have that 4x plus 50 is equal to x plus 23. That's algebra, let me subtract an x from each. Let me subtract 50 from each side. So I get that 3x equals negative 27. That means that x must be negative 9. Right? The algebra went a little fast. Now, my difference between example 3 and example 4 is that on question number 3, I gave you the information that you needed, and that was it. Question number 4, I gave you extra information, right? The negative 2x plus 4 is just there to be there, right? Make sure you only use what you need. You only need the mid segment and the side that is parallel to it. So not just any side, is the side that is parallel. So once again, number 3, I gave you just what you needed. Question number 4, I gave you extra information. Any questions so far? No? Now, my last two questions. Question number 5, I know how to solve for x, right? I see there's a mid-segment FG, and I see the side that is parallel is right there. So x plus 18 all multiplied by 2 is equal to x plus 29. Right? The mid-segment times 2 equals the big side. So I have that 2x plus 36 is equal to x plus 29. So let me subtract an x. Let me subtract 36. I get that 1x equals negative 7. Now, in here, I'm asking you to find the length FG. So plug in the value of x in FG, which if you notice, FG is the mid-segment. So I'm looking at negative 7 plus 18, which is 11. So solve for x and then plug it in. Looking at question number 6, the mid-segment is there. The side that is parallel is there. There's extra information on this one. I'm just looking at the mid-segment in the parallel side. So I have that 2x minus 6 all multiplied by 2 is equal to 3x minus 6. So I have that 4x minus 12 is equal to 3x minus 6. Subtract 3x, add 12, x is equal to 6. My examples, many of them, the x value was a negative. Sometimes the x value would be positive. Now here I'm asking to find DE. DE in this case is the mid segment again. So I'm gonna go 2 times 6 minus 6. So 12 minus 6 happens to be 6. My examples in both of them, I ask you to solve the mid segment. But sometimes I might ask you to solve for the side. So like question number 6, I ask you find DE, but I can also ask you find NL. So not the mid segment, the side. Solve for x and then plug it in. Yes.
Where'd you get the 4x for?
2 times 2x and 2 times 6. So once again, on my examples here, both I ask you for the mid segment. On the homework, I might ask you for the mid segment or I might ask you for the side. So make sure you look at the letters. What am I asking? All right. Any questions?